Okay, class, welcome to part 2 of entrepreneurial leadership, the basics. So earlier today, we listened to the TED Talk, and we were enthralled by what he had to say about how good leaders are not necessarily people who are in authority, but they can come from the middle of the organization, or they can be at the top of the organization. And we learned that if you will just start thinking more about the others around you, that is kind of one of the basics of being a great leader. So now let's talk a little bit more about entrepreneurial leadership and what it takes from the perspective of you, the person, what it takes. So one of the first things you have to know is you got to know yourself. And this doesn't mean like, well, I know myself, I'm a funny guy, or I know myself, I'm a serious guy, or I know myself, I like to study. This means like really know yourself. Like you have to be willing to get down and dirty on being honest with yourself. All of us kind of have this ability to kind of lie to ourselves about who we really are. Sure, I'm going to work out all the time. And like one of the funniest things that, happens with this is people will ask you, or ask me, I've caught myself doing it, how often do you work out? Oh, I work out all the time. I work out 5 days a week. When in reality, I might work out 3 days a week, or I might work out 2 days a week, because you kind of want to portray this picture of who you are that might actually be different than who you are. And so one of the keys of being a great entrepreneurial leader is you've got to be willing to be really honest with yourself about the things that you do well and the things that you don't do well. And you can't have this inaccurate picture of yourself in your own mind that you keep trying to portray to others, because from a leadership perspective, people that you're portraying that to, they know whether it's real or not. And so you've got to first really know yourself. So one of the keys of this is know why you're leading. Are you leading because you just want to be seen as in charge? Are you leading because it's an ego thing and you want to be, hey, yeah, I'm the guy in charge and this is my company? Or are you leading because you truly are vested in others' success? Are you truly wanting the people around you to succeed? Are you truly wanting them to achieve their goals and objectives? So you've got to know why you're leading and be honest with yourself about it. Second, you got to know who you are. And we were just talking about that. Who are you really? Are you somebody that is willing to go out and meet other people or not? Are you someone who is interested in numbers or not? Because you have to make sure that you have all of those skill sets in your business, and you've got to know yourself and what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do, especially from a leadership perspective. If you want your team to work long hours or to put in extra work or to do the hard things and you're not willing to do those yourself, you better know right away, because you can't ask your team, or at least I don't believe you should be asking your team to do things that you yourself are not willing to do. That doesn't mean you have to be the best at them. It doesn't mean you have to be the greatest at them, but you have to do things that put you in the same space as your team. They need to know that you're willing to take the time and to make the sacrifices that you're asking them to make. Know what matters, what's meaningful to you. Is family super meaningful to you? Is having a balanced lifestyle meaningful to you? Is giving back to the community meaningful to you? Whatever those things are, you've got to know, because you will create a culture in your business basically wrapped around the things that are meaningful to you. You can't create a culture in a business that says, let's give back to the community, if giving back to the community doesn't matter to you, because it'll be very difficult for you to fake that all the time. And so when you figure out what's meaningful to you, and then you start leading around those things that are meaningful to you, the culture that you create from a leadership perspective will follow those meaningful things. So is it giving back to the community? Is it making sure that everyone lives or has a balanced lifestyle? Is it, no, we are grinders and we are going to work and work and work and work and we are going to bury our competitors? Is it this fiercely competitive, we're number one type thing? Whatever it is, make sure that you've figured it out before you jump into actually being a leadership role. Know why you started your company. A lot of entrepreneurs kind of lose track of why they started the company. And, it becomes, more about the money or more about what they can, do for themselves. And they kind of lose track of that most people start a company because they identify a problem and they think that they can provide a solution to customers that's better than the solutions that are currently out there. But that kind of gets lost over time as companies grow and evolve. If you know why you started your company and you keep that always in mind, it will help you stay the course from a leadership perspective. Know where your business fits in the industry and the community. You've got to know like where you fit. So one of the companies we did was a Sarbanes-Oxley company, and we've kind of talked about this before in class. We knew where we fit. We were all about helping companies mitigate risk. That's where we fit. Where we fit in the community was we had a big community push around service and doing for others. And specifically for us in that company, it was the Ronald McDonald House. And we had every month teams that would go into the Ronald McDonald House. We would serve meals, we would provide the food, and that's how we fit in the community. But how we fit in the business community was helping companies make sure that they could comply with all of the new SEC regulations that had come out of the Enron collapse. So you've got to know both things. How does your business fit in industry? How do you fit into the community from a business perspective? And then just how do you fit in the community? Where do you want to be and how do you want to be seen? So second, you've got to have a vision and you've got to be able to talk about it. In today's environments, one of the biggest things that I'm picking up is that people are not communicating as much verbally. Everybody's trying to write things or text things or send it as an email. If you want to lead a company, you have to be able to tell the people in the company, this is where we're headed, what our vision is. It doesn't matter where your vision's taking you, but you've got to be able to communicate what it is. And so what is the vision? What are you doing? What's the business that you're in? Are you a company that, like we just talked about, is going to help mitigate risk for its customers? Are you a company that is going to provide the best, most flavorful donut for its customers? Is it a business that is all about providing the absolute best service from a real estate perspective to its customers? What are you doing? What's the business? How are you serving your stakeholders? How are you providing the services that you say you are going to do? Where is it going? Are you going to be the #1 energy company in the world? Are you going to be the largest donut store in Houston? Are you going to be the top-rated entrepreneurship program in the country? That's vision. Where's it going? You have to be able to talk about what your vision is and where you're trying to take the company. It can't be vague. It can't be like, yeah, we're going to try to do something in the risk management field. Not really sure what. We think we might offer some entrepreneurship stuff. Not really sure why. Maybe some classes. Maybe we're going to help people start businesses. I don't know, something to do with entrepreneurship. Oh, we're going to do something in the technology space. Well, what, are we going to write software? I don't know. We haven't quite figured that out yet. Are we going to be a hardware company? I don't know. Whatever kind of is opportunistic in the technology space, we're going to take care of that. You know, we're going to go after that. That is not a clear vision. That is an idea of a direction you would maybe like to go. It would be kind of like saying a clear vision is we are going to Cancun for spring break and we are going to spend 4 days there and we are going to have a great time. That's a nice clear vision. Where are you going for spring break? A vague vision is like, yeah, we're going to go on spring break somewhere, maybe by airplane, maybe by bus, maybe by car, maybe we'll walk and take a trip. That's a pretty vague vision for what spring break trip you're going to be taking. So visions need to be very specific and you have to be able to talk about it and communicate it. Because where you're going from a vision perspective, that is what's going to inspire all the others and get them to join you and not only join your team, but work towards this common goal that you're trying to set. If you think about a crew that is rowing, an 8-man crew, have you guys seen that in the Olympics or have you seen it on television where there's 8 oarsmen and they are all pulling in the same direction? And when you watch that and you see them actually pulling on the oar, you can actually see the boat lift out of the water, settle back in, and speed forward. That is what happens when you have everyone pulling hard in the same direction. You get this lift of a boat. That boat is your company. When you can talk from a vision perspective of where you're going and what you're trying to get done, it's just like all of you are sitting in the same boat and pulling on that oar, and that company lifts and moves forward and lifts and moves forward and lifts and moves forward. And that is what you're trying to accomplish. And vision helps you communicate that. Entrepreneurial leaders have to listen, and you have to listen carefully. You have to listen not only to employees, but clients, mentors, and others. Some of your best ideas are going to come from your clients. They're going to say, man, I love what you guys do, but I wish you could do this. Wow, It was really interesting how you delivered that service. Thanks so much for that. It was the best X we ever had. And you think, wait a minute, we're only doing that for them. We weren't even doing that for other clients. And all of a sudden you have a new service or a new way to offer a service that's available for clients. Employees have great ideas. They have great ideas. You have to listen to your employees. You have to put out there, hey, if any of you have a better way of achieving X, a better way of doing Y, please feel free to bring it up. And you have to actually be willing to listen to what they're saying. And I don't mean listen like, half listen. What were you saying again there? You actually have to listen, be engaged, summarize back to them what they said to you, and then take time to think through it. Mentors are invaluable. They're invaluable. I've actually talked to you guys about the mentors that helped us with our businesses and how without them, we probably would not have been successful. They have been through the ringer already. Feel free to ask them questions and listen to what they're telling you and act on their suggestions. Okay. Another part of listening carefully is you've got to create productive workplaces, and you have to encourage a back and forth dialogue. You want your people to communicate amongst themselves. You want them in that mix of dialogue, great ideas become available. If you actually have read the book called Death by Meeting, it's written by Patrick Lencioni. He talks about that the best meetings have a lot of conflict and kind of arguments, because that dialogue is what drives great ideas and drives great decisions, versus an environment or a workplace where everyone's like, oh, well, this is what the boss said we got to go do, so we go do it. That is not encouraging dialogue. That is not going to be creating a workplace where you're telling your employees, I'm willing to listen and I would like to get great ideas. And that kind of leads to this final point of, you make decisions not based on just your own understanding, but based on your client's understanding, based on your mentor's understanding, based on your employee's understanding. You have to open up your mind and you have to say, I don't know everything. Who can help me figure out what we have to get done? I mean, I've often said that business for me is very simple, because I know I'm not the smartest guy in the room. Most of the time, I'm actually one of the dumbest guys in the room. So I literally live my life asking questions. Well, guys, how do you think we can do this? Is there another way we could accomplish that? How can we meet the client's demand? How could we figure out a way to get this piece of code written faster? How can we interact with the tax base? Is there a way we can drop a reporting module on top of this database and provide for the client the information that they want? I don't typically have the answers. I typically have a lot of questions. And then what I try to do is listen very carefully to what everybody is saying around me. And I take all of that information and help create a game plan with everybody of what we're then going to go do. So entrepreneurial leaders, you got to know how to listen carefully. Okay. Entrepreneurial leaders, you got to innovate and you got to take risks. And if you think about innovation and risk taking, you have to be willing to do it in good times and in bad times. If you think about the times we're in right now with this COVID-19 crisis, there are a bunch of businesses right now who are in crisis. They need to figure out ways to innovate and take risks. Because if they don't, if they just stay stagnant, they have a very good chance of not being here tomorrow. I mean, the entire economy has basically ground to a halt. So companies that find ways to innovate and take risks and do things differently are the companies that are going to make it. Everything from bars and restaurants that have gone to 100% online and have online menus to, a winery that says, instead of these big pickup parties for our wine of the month clubs, we're actually going to empower our employees to go deliver all of the wine to their houses. And now all of a sudden we have a delivery service that kind of has innovated that risk of, are you okay doing that? Talking to the employees, the risk of maybe preparing food and saying, let's set up a roadside stand and kind of have it all prepackaged so that it meets the social distancing requirements. Those types of things are innovative thoughts that people might be doing right now. Could you pivot your business in an entirely different direction? You may provide service A, but you might need to provide service B. We were just talking about our business that we had that did the Sarbanes-Oxley SEC kind of compliance stuff. We had to pivot in that business pretty hard. When we started that business after the first 12 months, I mean, it was just rolling. It was doing unbelievably well. And we were working primarily with smaller public companies. We had a smattering of large ones, but we had a whole slew of smaller public companies that we were helping them meet these new regulations and guidelines that the government had put down on them. Well, the government passed a rule or a law. It wasn't a law, they just modified the law that said those companies had extra time to comply. Originally, they were going to have to comply by the next year, and they gave them like 3 additional years to comply with these new regulations. The impact on us was literally we came into work the day after that passed, and every phone call was a client canceling a contract. Every time I picked up the phone, it was another, hey, you know, thanks so much for the work you've been doing, but we now have 3 additional years to comply, so we're going to cancel our contract. And I mean, it got to the point where I literally did not want to pick up that phone, pick up the phone that day, because every phone call was just, more revenue walking out the door. But we said, okay, we have 2 choices. We can hang our heads, we can be sad, or we can figure out a way to pivot and be flexible and try to find a new opportunity. And what we found by talking to those customers was, hey, while they didn't have to comply with that, they still had all of these internal audit needs that they could use help on. And so we pivoted and became a company that really helped do internal audits and find a way to help them meet their internal audit requirements. That was not initially where we started. That is where we ended up, because in bad times, we had to go searching for another way to offer a solution. So find opportunities to launch new initiatives, new strategies, new products, new services. You got to take risks. You got to innovate. Entrepreneurial leaders are consistently doing this. You have to develop your employees and help them grow. I mean, you've heard me talk about this before. I am a huge believer that if you pour time and effort into your employees, that they will pour time and effort into you. And when I say into you, I mean into your business, into whatever the venture is that you've started that you're trying to get successful. You have to be committed to the people that work for you. If they have a goal, you have to know what it is and you have to help them achieve it. And I don't mean just their work goals. I mean goals. They would like to buy a house. They would like to save money to send their child to college. They would like to lose weight. Whatever those things are, try to get aligned with them and be committed to them and help them achieve them. And they're going to then, in turn, help you achieve your goals. Make sure as part of that, you're helping them develop their talents and skills. Everybody's different. They're not all you. You're not them. If somebody is unbelievably skillful at, financial projections, but maybe they don't have quite the Excel skills that they could use, send them to an Excel class and help them develop those skills. If somebody is in sales, but they could use more help in public speaking, get them into a public speaking class or help them develop their public speaking skills. Whatever their talents are, help them grow their strengths. If they choose to work on some of their weaknesses, help them work on those too. But I'm a huge believer that you identify somebody's strengths and then you push them as hard as you can into what they do well, and you continually help them improve what they do well. And in doing so, you will create in them just an absolute expert in whatever field and whatever strengths that they're good at, whatever skills and talents they have that are wonderful. Make sure you make a commitment to them. They've made a commitment to you. And I don't think a lot of us think about that. As an entrepreneurial leader, when someone says yes to you, I will join your team, they have made a commitment to you. They have said, I believe that joining your team will help me achieve whatever goals I've set for myself. Whether those goals are to provide a living for my family, whether those goals are to help me save money to send my children to college, whatever those goals are, they've made a commitment to you. You in turn now have to make a commitment to them. They have put their faith in you, in your vision, in what you're trying to accomplish. You need to make sure that you remember that, because they've made a massive commitment to you. This takes me to my last point, which is if you are focused on taking care of them, they by proxy will take care of you. If you are helping them achieve their goals and objectives, and we hit this in the earlier module, if you're helping them achieve their goals and objectives, you can't help but achieve yours. If you have a 10-person team and all of them achieve their goals, then you for sure are going to achieve your goals, because their goals from a business perspective are typically in alignment with what you want to get done as a company. And so when they are successful, you are successful. So if you can help them maximize their commissions, if you can help them maximize their income, because they hit all of the incentive plan things that you've built that are key to production for your firm, then you know your firm is going to make it. They, by proxy, will take care of you. So your commitment needs to be, how do I help them reach their goals and objectives? Okay. Also, you've got to take care of yourself and you've got to stay curious. You have to be willing to learn all the time. You've got to stay curious. You never got to stop learning. Constantly try to find things to read. Find people to talk to if you don't like to read about your industry. Go to networking events about what is happening in the types of industries that you're in. There is an industry group for anything in the world. I mean, there is a plastic spoon creators group. There is a CBD oil group. There will be groups on real estate and groups on investing and groups on how to make the best plastics. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. There is some sort of industry group that is constantly learning and constantly talking and offering suggestions. So you never want to stop learning about your industry. You also never want to stop learning about how to be a better leader, a better manager, a better boss, a better worker. It doesn't matter what it is. You have to find a way to kind of feed yourself so that you're constantly developing. You have to take time with family and friends. If you make everything about your business, it's very difficult long-term. Take it from someone who made everything about his business for a while. It was my first two companies. I mean, I just worked. I mean, I worked all the time. And, you know, I remember going to talk to a professional because at some point, you know, that took a toll on our family. And this counselor sat me down and he said, okay, Steve, this is the only thing we have to do in appointment one. I want your commitment that you will just keep track of where you spend your time next week. I was like, well, I can do that. I mean, this is all this counseling thing's going to be like this simple. I'm like, I'm all in for this. So I kept track of my time that week and I showed up for the next appointment. And he says, okay, let's track your time. And he basically builds a pie chart and he's got, you know, a little pie slice for sleep and a huge, humongous pie slice for work and this little teeny sliver for like family and relationship and wife and kids. And he said, do you see a problem with that? And I looked at it and said, no. My wife, of course, had a problem with that. That led to a lot of discussion about priorities and time and family and friends and things that matter. And over time, as you get older, you will learn that while work is unbelievably important and being successful in a chosen career is unbelievably important, if you do it in this little bubble of just that, it's not as fulfilling as you might think it is. So make sure you take some time to be with family, be with friends. They feed your spirit, they re-energize you, they help you stay actually encouraged and excited about the business that you're in. Okay, so we have a class assignment. That's all we have for this little module. We have a class assignment on Blackboard, and literally what you're gonna do is answer the following questions. Leadership is what? And you're gonna write out a little sentence on it. You're gonna write out a sentence on the hardest thing of being a leader is, and you're gonna say, how do you know you're a leader? And all I want you to do is fill out and answer those three little questions and hit submit, and I will be grading you. This is one of those 25-point assignments that we talk about. So that's all that we have for this module, and I look forward to talking with you again in our next parts 3 and parts 4 of entrepreneurial leadership, which the next two parts are titled What's Next? So thank you so much. Have a great day.